Welcome to First Impressions. Today, it's Clipcentric's turn, and I'm with Ryan and Sean, who are going to be talking about their creative production platform. First Impressions is like one of those unboxing videos you see on YouTube of people opening up toys, except it's for ad tech, and we get to actually see like a demo of the product as well as get to learn how it can help us as publishers do what we need to do. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Ryan. Ryan would love to hear about Clipcentric, give us a little bit of a picture, and then once we get there, Sean's going to take us through a demo. So Ryan, take it away.
Cool. Well, thanks for having us, Rob. Always great to talk to you. Just going to spend a couple minutes, like you said, just kind of giving a high level of Clipcentric, and then I'll pass it over to Sean for the good stuff as far as looking into the ad units and some bells and whistles in the platform. But just to kind of kick off, obviously it all begins with our platform for creating premium display ads. We have two types of clients. We have self-service clients that are within the platform, building units every day. And then as well, we have a full service side where, which Sean runs as far as that team, where we're building the ads and just providing back the ad tags and full service support as far as campaign analytics and things like that. It's all backed by our best-in-class service team. We're available 24/7, 365 days a year. They're doing everything in there from supporting our self-service clients in the ad builds, as well as doing any types of training, obviously making people proficient within the platform. Anybody who is new on the team, anybody who needs a refresher, we come out with new bells and whistles. We're obviously going out there, and that's what our service team is going out there and supporting our clients with. One of the other things we lean on here at Clipcentric is our long expertise in the space. So the founders of our company had another company called Ad Interacts, which was sold to Yahoo back in 2006. After the acquisition, the founders kind of, they felt like they left a few things on the table. They had a few industry issues that they felt like they wanted to address. And so back in 2014, Clipcentric was founded. And in that time, we have become the trusted partner for ad builds for the likes of CBS Interactive, Verizon Media, Penske Media Group, Nexstar, Cox Media Group, PGA Tour, NASCAR.com, and Golf.com, to name some of our great partners. And the last point I want to make is that we can do the simple to the sublime. So Rob, as you know, in working with our clients, we will very much work with your ad portfolio, get process down, get templates down so that your sales team can go out there and repeatedly sell these units. And then obviously there's also the crazy outside the box ideas, which we can support as well. So just wanted to make that point that we can do everything from the simple to the sublime. That's the end of my spiel. I'm going to pass it over to Sean so we can actually take a look at some of the things I've been talking about. And you guys are done hearing me talk anyway. So I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So yeah, like, Ryan's mentioning, from our side, we can really support any type of display advertising, from the most basic HTML5 animation ads to something that's truly responsive, being able to build that ad to hopefully have it run in multiple ad slot sizes, right? So this first example I'm showcasing is something more standard. This would serve to potentially all sorts of different IAB sizes that is responsive. So based on the ad container slot size that I serve it against, 970 by 250, 300 by 250, 160 by 600, this is truly responsive. The designers or my team, if they're building it, builds it one time, we traffic it through the ad tag, and you truly can run it anywhere. And then we will give back all sorts of analytics on how those ad units performed. This next example is an ad that has HTML5 animation, but then it comes to this end frame that lets that end user drive their own path through the creative, right? So interactivity within inside of these ad units, letting them see what they want to see. And all these different touch points or these different things that I'm clicking on truly are trackable, right? So we can tell you how many times they viewed the red car versus the blue car. Did they do it on desktop? Did they do it on phone? And we'll be able to tell you all those metrics by default when you schedule our ad tag. Two units that are designed to have that wow factor, the high impact type, high creative, but also be responsive, but also maybe stay in view, right? This is a great format that we see across a lot of our partners, that viewability, it's always in view, right? This has a sticky component, lives at the top of the page. This could run across all screens, truly responsive, This example is looking at the end user's geolocation, right? So we, from our side, have our own geo data, so we could change creative on the fly based on where that end user is. So are they in the UK versus New York versus LA? One ad tag scheduled globally. We can make those decisions, just sort of the correct creative when it needs to happen. This unit truly can run across all screens and sizes, right? The same ad unit gets scheduled to phone, right? It could run in app, outside of app, MRAID, Google AMP pages, all sorts of different environments inside of save frames pretty easily with all these different units. To maybe even taking that step further to having something that's truly high impact, right? For maybe entertainment clients, where this is a unit called our video wall. So on load of the page, pushes the page content out of view, has this big, beautiful video that is truly responsive. And this unit, is accepted, right? It gets around all the stuff that came out with the Coalition for Better Ads, right? This truly is accepted and okay because it's in line. It's not a floating interstitial over page content. So units like this could still run. To having potentially interactive or shoppable video, right? You could have your standard video component that now has some call to actions where that end user could maybe buy that purse that's in view, or learn more about the car that's in view, or click on that Samsung, refrigerator, or whatever it may be, and learn more about those products, and all built inside of our platform.
Very cool. Take a breath, Sean, because there are a number of cool things there. So one of the things that you hit on in the last piece there is that the kind of e-commerce. So my understanding then is that I could have like a feed, or I could provide obviously multiple dynamic, images, so I can create dynamic creative, right, based on my targeting and so forth, right?
Correct. Yep. Totally. You could have your own feed that maybe is coming from an API. Maybe that advertiser, the agency, whoever has it, could feed and populate the ad from that creative. Or simply you could just put it in a spreadsheet and lay it out. And, from whatever identifier is, are we going by zip, locations, by state, whatever. And when we match that spot in that spreadsheet, we just select that row and we grab that copy, that imagery, that click-through URL for that targeted portion of the ad tag. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so what I'm hearing is that, again, having build one ad unit that, or one creative that can actually be served into any different ad slot that I have, right? And then add certain things like, being dynamic based on like geography or whatever, just to me, again, cuts down the number of ads I have to build and do some really kind of unique things.
Totally. We've done some recently for partners that have, hundreds of lines that they're targeting inside of the ad server for, different, say lawnmower dealership, and they want, the one in, upstate New York versus the one in upstate Pennsylvania, right? And change that messaging, change maybe the imagery, change the deal. Maybe it's 25% off there instead of 15%. And that all truly could happen from that data feed, all different sizes, one ad tag everywhere. Eliminates a lot of potential human error, right? Manually cutting and pasting hundreds of different ad tags into Google Ad Manager or wherever you're scheduling it, the trade desk or whatever. And now they can just have that one ad tag and then truly have everything powered from that feed. And that feed could be updated by the designer, Clipcentric, or from the advertiser side. They could just host that file, make edits there, and it automatically streams those changes into the ad build.
Amazing. And so in the geo part of it, again, it's allowing me, so I don't have to do the geo targeting. I do it within the creative. You mentioned the trade desk. So one of the pieces that I always think about with these types of units is that they're typically handled around direct sold campaigns. You have the ability for this to work through programmatic pipes, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yep. You're going to have probably more options to run more standard type ads through the programmatic side of things, right? To open up more inventory, but you truly could still run units like this super billboard. We can make these ads that are smart and listen to the page environment that it lives in to do different things. Am I on, desktop versus phone and whatnot? That's all built into the back end of our technology and that ad build. So truly, you should be able to run that, on your own pages and properties, but if you want to extend those buys on something like the trade desk, you should be able to use those similar ad units, similar ad tags, and run them there.
Yeah, I think that creates a real interesting scenario. In my experience, there's a part where agencies shy away from some of these units if they're wanting to create them because they're not sure how they're going to render on various publishers, right? But it
Right.
seems like if you've got that kind of relationship, and again, I think you also work with agencies to some extent, right? The ability to kind of connect those dots so that you can start to really do some units that have some impact, right?
Totally.
That I think is the key piece there.
Yep.
The other part I like is thinking about it from the e-commerce solution, right? There's a piece where as publishers are looking at making more money through e-commerce, I could sit there and promote my store, my shop, my affiliate links or whatever into an ad unit. And I think you have one, right, as an example where, you know, someone could supply you with a number of images and someone can actually scroll and interact with them in different ways.
Totally. Yeah. There's all sorts of different ways to implement that, right? Like to something similar to like an
Oh,
circular, right? A shoppable type unit, this page flip type ad, right? This could all be built with one set of creative that we serve to everybody, or maybe Target wants to give us access to that feed or the agency has access. So now we could look at geo and say, all right, closest target to me is X, put that store location in, maybe add a pin on a map and actually change the content because maybe my deals are different than the store that's closest to you, Rob. So, any ad format, it doesn't have to be this one, truly that data-driven component or that e-commerce piece that you're talking to could be in any ad unit, a standard ad to something high impact like this to maybe it's just a 300 by 600, right? That has those components, shoppable, all that type of stuff could happen everywhere.
very cool. And so I think the part that I want to dive into has to do with your full service versus your self service, and understanding that.
Sure.
In my experience with you, we've used you as a full service. We don't have the design resources to kind of go in and do that type of work. But if I did have that designer, or I do have that capability, I could work with you in multiple ways, right?
Totally. Yep. Yeah, we're very flexible on that side of things. Originally the platform was designed for self-serve clients, and then we built our full service team around that. We had partners that didn't have that design team, and they needed help, right? So we work with partners all different ways. We do full service, similar to like how we work with you, to clients that we train them on the platform how to build, we set up templates for them for their different specific formats, and then they're off and running. They're logging in every day, uploading assets, building ads, grabbing ad tags. And, we really don't talk to them much other than when they need help, right? Support. Maybe they need a new template. Maybe they need new ad features within the platform. We're always evolving our platform. So maybe they need some new bells and whistle or something. So that's how we support them there. And, training, ongoing trainings all the time. So if they have, you have a design team, we'll do as many trainings as they need to do to get them up to speed to build their formats so they can be successful in what they're doing.
Yeah. And then all of that comes with the reporting, right, on the end in terms of interaction and so forth. And I think again you showed what do you call it, the super banner,
Yep.
the super billboard up at the top, right? And the ability to take someone who wants to run video on your site and incorporate that into the ad unit, right? Is in banner video, and at the same time, but you're controlled in banner video, right? It's not just surprising you, and it creates that kind of experience, allows them to take an asset that a lot of brands like to use and display it in new ways, and get it in front of that audience. So that's really
Totally.
cool.
Yep. And, from our side, we can support all sorts of video, right? To us, it really doesn't matter what type of video that you have on hand. Just try to have a good quality one. And then we can render and create that video, the final versions of the video in our own platform here. And then just plug and play. Very simple to drop video into any ad unit.
which which hits another issue that I would think you have to solve for, which is the size of the assets. All of between the combination of the size of the video to the photo, the Photoshop files, or to whatever. these are massive files.
Sure.
And so you are handling and getting those into into the range of acceptability. Because again, I've gotten some creatives in my day, Sean,
Yeah.
that have to go to Dropbox to get them, and you're like, that shouldn't be required. So
Right.
how do you handle that on your end?
Yes, from our side, we have all the rendering tools inside of our platform, right? So say you do have some, 100 meg Photoshop file, can't serve that, it's just doesn't happen, right? So once you import that in, we have image optimization, right? So we can optimize the creatives, the background images, the copy, all that type of stuff right in the tool. We're always trying to optimize and make WebP images, right? Because we can do a lot of compression there, but still keep the quality of those images, right? So our goal is, let's build the most streamlined ad unit that is going to load fast, right? So let's optimize all those creatives. Optimize the video, right? Maybe you have 100 meg video, can't serve that in an ad, right? So we can optimize that to a specific file weight right in the platform. Let's shoot for 2.3 megs and render that video, and then that's what we do. So what we normally tell designers and agencies and whoever's in the tool is, when you're building yourself in Photoshop, build the best looking stuff that you possibly can, import it into our platform, and then you can optimize right there by a click of one button.
When Google announced that they'd be starting to block heavy ads, I'll be honest, you were like the first person I thought of in terms of, wait a second, is this going to be a problem in terms of the Google heavy ads? And again, just for clarification, right? So Google's looking at it saying that it, based on how they judge an ad unit, they may decide not to serve something. And I was concerned that I might find a bunch of blank ads being served, or the whole thing saying we can't serve that. How are your ads fall within within those standards or their guidelines?
Yeah, I mean, our standard file weights for ad units that we kind of structure and build units out should all fall into that bucket. But to give our, designers and our partners a sense of security around knowing if those ads are going to serve and not be removed by Google, we built into our tool a heavy ad weight checker right into the tool that a designer could be in there, or maybe it's somebody from my team building the ad, and they could click a button and it taps into Google's API that they are actually using within inside of Chrome to make that decision. Is this ad heavy or not? Is it beating up my processor, right? Am I loading huge files? And within a 45-second run of that test tool, we can tell you if it's going to be flagged or not. I mean, it's not exact on, right? Like if we're using their API, that should catch things, right? But yeah, we built that there. And then we also built a metric into our reporting to show you when those ads actually get removed. So you'll have that data, but knock on wood, to this point, we haven't seen any ads being removed yet across all of our partners, right? But we did, build in those safeguards that you truly can test. Again, optimizing those creatives in the platform is going to help reduce all those, potential, ad removals. So we do have, lots of options to help you to,
Great.
not have that happen. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So I don't know if there's any other ad formats you want to show, or you want to show us how we create an ad. So love to see the back end.
Yeah, let's just jump into the platform, right? So it's truly all web-based. When you log into the system, we'll go to the design tool, and inside of here, I'm just going to load a basic ad, right? So we have most basic ad you'd ever build, right? An expandable, right? So you upload some assets, we can put controls over top of it and hotspots to control the ad. But inside of these ad builds, we could have all sorts of different types of creative, right? Is it just a JPEG? Is it a PNG? Maybe I want video. Do I have HTML5? So inside of our ad builds, we can change the different building blocks, the different layers that are in the ads. We can change the type, right? So maybe the asset is hosted on the client server, the agency server, and we could just point to it, bring it into the ad, and just like we're hosting it, right? To maybe you have some standard HTML, right? That was pre-written. You want to import that HTML, or maybe on the advertiser's website, they have a form. They're going to do data capture, right? We could cut and paste that HTML, drop that into an ad, and serve that up that way. We can do product carousels, video carousels very easily with widgets inside of the platform, to building your own HTML5 animation that this tool is very, very strong, right? So you can do lots and lots of things that we used to do back in the day when Flash was around. Can do that again now using our HTML5 editor. We have all sorts of different widgets and pulling in, social sharing and map widgets. We have match widgets, YouTube widgets, videos, all sorts of stuff, right? And then what we do from our side is we help build out those templates, right? So say we build out a template for, publisher A, and here's their template, right? We have this super billboard ad unit that we can see how it looks and scale it on desktop.
Mm-hmm.
We can test it on the phone, see how this is going to look in all those different environments, all sorts of different devices. And then we build the template, but then we also build a Photoshop file that matches it, the pixel dimensions, what it looks like on desktop, what it looks like on phone. And then I could go simply import that PSD. It brings up this PSD importer. It takes my creative that's in my Photoshop layers. It maps them to the layer that it needs to go inside of Clipcentric UI. I click continue upload. Depending on the file, this one's like 7.5 megs. It might take a minute or two to get that file into the system. But once you do, then we could go, now I puts all my elements in this HTML5 and I could come in here and simply start to animate, right? Within a matter of a few seconds, I can animate these, or I could change the image quality. Like I go to the background, right? This background image right now shows at 800K. Let's render that down to say 85%. I render that image in a matter of a few seconds. I just took 600K out of that image. Now we're down to 199. I mentioned, we talked about the heavy ad reports, right? So we have in our ad reports, you can click on this and just click run heavyweight ad test. And that's where we can see all the different things that'll happen if it's going to be, approved or not approved or blocked. So we really make it easy for that end designer to just do a lot of their work inside of Photoshop, right?
Right.
And then just simply import that PSD in, maybe do some animations, right? All the legwork for these formats is done prior to, us even handing over that Photoshop file. So a designer truly doesn't have to focus on, all right, am I adding a new layer? What am I doing with it inside of the platform? I'm a designer. I'm just going to design and import that file.
And do that in Photoshop where they're familiar with it. Yeah.
Totally.
Very cool. And then how do I render or create the ad tag out of something like this?
Right. So you build the ad. We go to our trafficking section where you could go grab that super billboard, define a campaign ID or publisher ID. You have to do those for each tag. And then you have the option to include other parameters for advertiser, the placement, the vertical, the format. We suggest putting as many of these in as you can because it's just going to help ways to slice and dice your reports down the road. Maybe you want to build benchmark data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you run a super billboard with video, you call it that as your format. Then you have, you're starting to build your benchmark data. We can run all sorts of environments, right? So here's our different set of ad tags that you could pick from. The only difference between these ad tags are maybe different macros. Google's macro is different than the Trade Desk versus Centro's and so on. So that way our server and their server can sync up with less discrepancies for impressions and clicks and all that type of stuff.
That's the solution, right? That's the part where, again, I think, in the past I've had agencies give me what were going to be responsive ad units and they give me those tags and they don't work kind of out of the box. Right. And that's because, again, they're not really with our environment in mind. There's different ways, again, to create those tags so they can get passed through. So, I'm learning something as someone who's used the platform before. I'm learning something where I'm like, you know what? I could start to open up some programmatic pipes for this, right?
Sure.
And that's something I don't think, and know that it's going to work is pretty cool.
Right. Like, here's the click tag one for the Trade Desk. Here's their macro. Then if I go to the Googles, like their click is totally different. Right. So these are certified. We've tested with all those different, ad servers to make sure, that does work correctly. And then you're off and running. But maybe you want to run this inside an app, right? I can check off MRAID. So now this ad tag as it sits could run in friendly iframes. It could run in safe frames. It could run inside of Google AMP pages. It could run inside of MRAID, inside of app, and all devices, all from that one ad tag.
Yeah. Great
And,
stuff.
and then for tracking, right? Like maybe you have different impression trackers, click trackers, all that type of stuff. We support all of it, right? So easy enough to include those in the ad build, in the ad tag, or you can define those things in the ad server. And maybe you have like an additional like VPay or VAST tracker for the video events that need to fire for Moat or something. We could include all those inside of those ad builds as well. And then once it goes live, then we start to have reporting metrics, right? So within a matter of a few minutes of those impressions going live, we have our reporting dashboard, and I'm just going to pull up a saved report that will showcase all the different metrics that we're tracking by default, right? So with every ad tag that we schedule, this is a snapshot of all the different metrics, right? Impressions, interaction rates, viewability, video completion rates, to maybe it's like that Volkswagen ad where I had the different color cars, custom event tracking, to whatever you want to build in, right? This is our default set, but we can custom track anything. We also track heat map data, so we can show where users are interacting on the creative.
Nice.
So maybe maybe you use this data to help build a smarter format, right? Maybe a lot of people are clicking through around a small close button. That's a bad user experience, right? You really should just take that data and make a bigger close button, make a better user experience, and learn that data from here. Device data.
Right. And as a publisher, you could work and show some of this to your agency and show them interaction with your units. Again, what's working, what's not, optimize the actual creative as opposed to just letting it run and watch clips drop over time, right?
Right. Where's the user? Yeah. Where's the user's eye tend to go? Where do the call to actions need to be? Those type of things can be told, through just these heat maps. Device data, again, this could run in all sorts of environments. So are they on a phone? Are they on tablet? Are they on desktop? And then we take those environments further. Are they on mobile web versus in MRAID? And then by device, are you on iOS? Are you on Android on phones? Where are those click-through rates coming from, right? Maybe the ad has like a 2% click-through rate. Is it coming from desktop? Is it coming from mobile? We can help tell that story by default. And some of our partners, we even helped tell that story of they didn't even know what their user base was. They didn't know who was on iOS versus Android versus consuming in landscape or portrait mode. And from our data, we were able to help them just understand what their users are doing in their article pages and that type of thing. And then video data, right? We track all sorts of different types of video data, but then we can also tell you, how did it perform across the different environments that it ran in. If you are extending your buys, say out onto the trade desk or wherever, you're just buying eyeballs, right? Most of the time, you don't know the site you're buying, right? You're just buying a type of user. We can tell you where those impressions are happening. We'll pick up the domain data. We can tell you how it performed on the different domains for impression, interaction rates, click-through rates, all that from this data. And then one thing we haven't touched on at all in this call is dynamic creative optimization, right? DCO. So we built that in recently. So now we can, every component, every feature that I've shown so far, we can put a DCO smart engine on the back and say, all right, let's use this call to action versus that one. Let's show this video versus that one because we know it performs better. So you could have, 3 different background colors and let's rotate them through until we figure out the blue one works better than the red and then just show that. So we have DCO data that I could come in and look at, some data here. And basically this is an ad that had a 30-second video and a 15-second video that rotated evenly. And it ran for a few days until we got enough data. And then it just transitioned to the better performing video. And then that video showed moving forward. So that's another thing that our partners are starting to leverage more and more is our true DCO data and optimization in all sorts of formats and ad builds.
Very cool. So let's step back and again, I'm going to make a joke, Sean, which is I think people are going to watch this video in slow motion, right? Because you flew through that. That was amazing. But you covered a lot of ground, which was awesome, right? So that's what I wanted. Yep. But I'm sitting there going like I gotta go through the pieces. But there's an aspect of working with you as self-serve versus full service, right? And what do you typically find that for someone self-service, like what skills should they have? And then what does full service look like in terms of turnaround times and so forth?
Yeah, I'll start with the full service because I have it open right here. we make it easy to submit those campaigns to us, right? We have this service request dashboard that they fill in and campaign ID, when's the target date, here's all the Photoshop files, here's all my videos, click-throughs, Dropbox links, right? Our standard turnaround times is 3 to 5 business days for any standard builds, right? Normally it happens a little bit quicker than that. We build in a few days, hopefully to go through those revisions that might happen. Most of the time they don't, but if there are revisions, we do have a little extra window there to, move a logo, change this copy, that type of stuff. So from there, my team will accept a ticket. We'll build the ads. We'll share back preview links similar to like the ad gallery, all those different preview links that we're looking at there. And then we'll supply final ad tags that would get dropped into the ad server. So that's, everything's pretty much done from my team's standpoint. Self-service wise, anybody that really understands Photoshop could do a lot inside of our platform, right? Because we're truly leveraging that Photoshop import option, they truly focus in there. They can see what it looks like on desktop. They know what it's going to be on phone. They know the different aspect ratios. Is it vertical? Is it horizontal? They see that. They build in there, import it. Within a few basic trainings, like an hour or two trainings total sessions, we could get somebody that understands Photoshop up and running and building any format that they would want. So that's, and those trainings can go on, if needed at any point in time, but, on average, an hour or two all in training, you should be able to do anything.
So a question around some interaction with the ad units in terms of, say, like collecting an email address or other information. One, can you do that? And then, there are obviously PII concerns with collecting that kind of information. Does that information get routed through the ad server, or does that get routed directly through the Clipcentric ad unit to you for some other way of collection?
Right. Yeah. So from our side, we do not capture any of that information. We're not going to house it. We're not going to grab an email address. We're not going to grab your name. We just stay away from it. It's just much easier for us as a company to stay away from it. So we can still support it. Right. So say on the advertiser's website, they have that form that we were talking about before. We could just get that HTML from them, put that in the ad build, and we serve it inside of our ad, inside an iframe, right? So it's safe, and we could just pipe that data directly to them. We also have partners that use like Google Forms or other methods of collecting that data. And easy enough, we could use embed code or HTML code and put it inside of that ad build, or maybe there's an API available that they have, already set up on their website where they're, getting all sorts of information. We've had other partners that do that had, there was like a questionnaire and they're trying to grab, 20 different things from that end user, and we just pipe it through to them. And we do not house any of that data from our side.
Got it. Well, that's great. Sean, we've covered a lot of ground very quickly. Take a second, or is there anything you've shown some great ads? Got an idea from Ryan in terms of the overall idea of the company and where it comes from. You showed us the background, the back end. What am I missing? Am I missing anything? I think you covered a lot of it.
Yeah, I feel like I covered most of it. Yeah, I mean, truly at the end of the day, we can do a lot, and we can be leveraged in multiple ways, right? From helping build ads, right? If you don't have the team there to do it, for creative services, train them how to build it if you do have the teams. Also be available as technical experts on maybe potential kickoff calls, right? We do that all the time where, maybe I just jump in on a call as a sales engineer and we're talking to the agency, we're talking to the advertiser, they've got a feed. Can we do this? Can we do that? And maybe that, our partner doesn't know those answers, and we could simply just be an extension of their team. I don't even have to say the vendor's on, just say our tech guy's on and he can talk to all that or whatever. We do that every day. And that really does help with these bigger, more involved type, campaigns that, we can answer all those questions right from the get-go, and it eliminates a lot of issues down the road prior to launch, right? We've seen it really help streamline lots of different areas of those campaigns that, maybe just an account manager doesn't know those answers or whatever. We can answer them and help everybody go down the right path from the start.
What's interesting to me is, as you say that, is I think about the fact that this is a platform to which is probably tied a lot to ad operations. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, that operations people have a part of this, though they're they're less likely to be obviously the creative people, right? So this is a platform for the creative people or your clients to create their ads, but there's so many little technical aspects of it. And the fact that you can kind of support that, again, going off what you just said, of talk creative to creative, then when it comes to the actual, okay, well, how do we turn this into an ad? Help solve that issue so that as ad operations, I'm just getting that tag and I know what to do with that, right? And then I know that that's going to work. To me, I think the part of it that I think really opens up is this being a publisher feature and being ready to be able to do it. Again, if you're out with direct sales, this can be a way to sit there and up your packages. Hey, we provide this service, right? And of course, you're doing the work for me, but I'm offering creative services. I'm offering the ability to create ads look great on my site. So that's positive on revenue. Two, just kind of working through all the things that can come through to say, hey, why don't we do creatives better and in ways that can sit there and kind of unlock what can actually be done. I'll just admit that sometimes I go to the ad gallery and you get a little bit lost in all the options, right?
Sure.
Because you sit and think like all the things you could possibly do. Well, guess what? That's because I'm an operations person. You need someone with a creative, slant to sit there and say, hey, this is the thing, the way to get this message forward.
Yep.
And then I, as the operations person, know this is going to work once I get that tag. So
Totally.
That's I think a great way to look at it.
All of that, plus think about us adding efficiencies, right, to all of those things, right? We make it easy to get the assets into the platform for a designer to build, but then we also make it easy for you as an operations person to potentially grab one ad tag, and now you're going to schedule it 10 different ways, right? So there's lots of different things that we help build efficiencies for our partners, and a lot of those partners, really are loving that extra time that they're getting back, right? Like, ways of tapping into different ways of, generating ad tags that talk to Google, that we pick up their placement ID and creative ID and then label our reports based off of those IDs at runtime. Now you grab one ad tag and you serve it to, homepage, sports page, finance page with the same ad, but then we can break down reports based on where it ran. But from your side, you only did one thing. So it really does open up the doors for all sorts of efficiencies across the board, for just getting the ads built, to trafficking them, to pulling reports. It's all real time. You'll see our numbers are normally ahead of any ad server, right? You might have to wait half a day to get some numbers from some partners where we're going to have those reports within 5 minutes. So you can make real time decisions on an ad, how it's performing, maybe go change some creative inside the ad build. Let's change the background or the call to action buttons, or let's change the messaging, change the click through, hit save, and those changes automatically propagate live. So there's lots of efficiencies as well too.
Very cool. Very cool. So the call to action. So email sales@clipcentric.com. Obviously the website, you have all the ad gallery information. And with that, Sean, Ryan, thanks for being a part of First Impressions. Looking forward to further conversations. I think, it'll be interesting to watch certain trends of the browsers and the impact that they have on creative, right? So I think that'll be something that we will talk about in the future. So with that, Sean, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rob. Thanks for having us.
All right, we are done recording. Okay, thanks everyone for attending.